Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
You bet. Just a moment while I work on that.
Working.
I've set up a one-time automation to turn off your salt lamp in 1 hour at 8:10 p.m.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Echo Tips podcast. Good to have you returning listeners and new listeners as well. And in this week's episode, at a high level, before I give an introduction to what the show is all about for our new listeners who are with us today, at a high level, we're going to be, of course, delving back into the A-Lady Plus beta and what we see, what we don't, what we've experienced, what was never there before, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Now, in particular, we're going to be taking a look at two things today. Today is a two-parter, guys. We're going to have two awesome little gems for you today. One, we're going to revisit routines and a new concept that has never existed before, at least not to my knowledge, and that is temporary routines, aka one-off routines. So I just need you to do this one thing, one time, and then after it's done, it's no longer in my history. It erases itself. You know, I need the light to come on tonight at 8 o'clock because the kids are out at the movies or whatever it may be. A one-time routine. So I stumbled across it kind of by accident, but I think it is a fantastic idea. And as we learned in a previous episode about the power of verbal routines and really how impressive they are. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and check that out. The fact that you don't have to go through an app and especially configure a set of steps that controls your lights and controls your thermostat or whatever else you got going on. Of the ability to just verbally walk up to your A-Lady and say, hey, I want you to do this, and this when this happens, or when it's this time of day, or whatever the case may be. Very, very powerful. So go back and check that episode out. I used a driveway sensor as an example, and I think I even used, I can't remember what the other thing was, the porch light or something like that. So go back and check that episode out. So that's going to be our first gem of the day. The second thing we're going to try and cover is kind of a niche item, but I think could apply to anybody in a certain context. And that is a special tool that was invented by Amazon for those with various different disabilities, either totally blind or somewhere on the spectrum of vision impairment or low vision. And the ability to walk up to an Echo with a screen and a camera and ask it, hey, what is this pantry item I have? Is this a Campbell soup chicken noodle soup, or is this garbanzo beans, right? And hold it up in front of the camera and she identify it and tell you what it is. Now, that's a very specific use case, but there was a feature also at one point in the old A-Lady of scanning barcodes, which I always thought was a very potentially powerful feature just for anybody. Not for people with vision impairments, but just anybody. The ability to walk up and say, you know, I love this particular type of lentils, or I love this mac and cheese, and just walk up and scan the barcode and say, hey, order me 5 more of these, or order me a case of these, or whatever, right? I think that could be very powerful. And you think of products that you particularly like and you don't want to change, you know they work for you, or maybe they don't affect your allergies or something. It's just a really nice thing to know, boom, you could just go up and scan the barcode. And a great way to get things into your Amazon cart, so later you can just say, hey, A-Lady, reorder that. Order the mac and cheese again. So we'll talk about that feature, and is that present in the A-Lady Plus? Is it improved? Is it better? Or is it not there at all? We'll talk about that as well. So those are our two gems for the day. We'll be taking a look at the routines that are temporary, and we'll be taking a look at the new show and tell feature. And we'll delve back into our back catalog there too and see the way it used to work and then compare it with the way it works now under the beta. Okay, so for our returning for our new listeners, when we get there right, I'd like to welcome you. Hopefully you've got a little crash course already, probably what the show's about, but nonetheless, I'll introduce myself. My name is David Ward. I'm host of the Echo Tips podcast. We are in our 7th season, and the 7th season is drawing to a close. We're getting very close to ending this season, and so 7 seasons, we're 52 episodes a year. That's a weekly show. We release episodes generally around Wednesdays or Thursdays, maybe Fridays, later in the week, and we cover everything, as you might have already discerned, everything Amazon Echo related, A-Lady related. We say A-Lady instead of A-L-E-X-A, so we don't trigger your echoes at home. And it could be home automation, it could be entertainment, videos, security cameras, it could be applications for little ones who are using their echoes with the Disney skills and things, or it could be for adults, caregivers, seniors, business environments, nursing home environments, all sorts of things in our back catalog of over 350 plus episodes. So by all means, go back and check those out. If you have thoughts or suggestions, you can always reach out to me at EchoTips Podcast at CertDoctor, CertDoctor.com. And also on that same domain, you can click on blog and see a listing of our back catalog. And we have been demoing a lot of the A-Lady Plus beta stuff as we've been enrolled over the past, 3 to 4, 5 weeks, at least probably 4, somewhere around there, I think. At least 3 to 4. And so by all means, you can check out the most recent episodes to really get an idea, if you're not in that yet, what that may be looking like. And so far, I've been very impressed. Very impressed. Very, very, very impressed. Okay, well, we're going to press on now, and so we'll get right into our material. So first off, we're going to take a look at the first gem or nugget of the day, and that is routines. So routines, just a crash course, although I've probably done a pretty good job, hopefully, of acquainting you with them. If they're totally foreign to you and you don't know what they are, it's the ability to have your Echo do a triage of events in succession. It could be based on a timer. It could be a driveway sensor is triggered or a mailbox sensor is triggered. It could be something happens in your home with the thermostat. It hits 75 degrees and, oh my God, I want the air conditioner to automatically come on. It could be a series of things like you're shutting down the home at night to lock everything up to go to bed, and you want the kids and everybody to be safe, and is the dog inside, all those things. So all sorts of stuff. Or it's movie night and you want all the lights to be dimmed and all the things that beep and bop to turn their volumes down. It could be something like that. So very similar to what in computing we would call macros, or like a script, a list of things that it does in a sequence, and then it has these what ifs maybe potentially. I don't know if it's really quite that advanced yet, but there are a few that can be that way. Like you might not want to have them triggered at 3 a.m. You can sometimes flag them that they won't be triggered at certain odd hours and stuff. So those are kind of weird catches. But anyway, up until now, we've looked at routines that are kind of permanent. You create them, you give them a name, and even recently in the recent episode, we created a routine just verbally, which was very impressive. If you haven't heard that episode, go back and check that out. But a new concept I ran across just by happenstance is the ability to create a temporary routine. And I just kind of thought, hey, I'm going to ask her, hey, when this happens, can you yada, 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 or can you do this in an hour? And this is what I got. So I'm gonna control the salt lamp in my bedroom. It's like a little glowing rock lamp made of salt. That's why it's called a salt lamp. And I'm gonna trigger it here, or I'm gonna actually it's on, and I want it to go off here in, let's say, an hour. So I will say, and now I'm not using the standard wake word today, ALEXA. I'm using the Captain Kirk computer word. So if your Echo does respond to that, you may want to shut its ears off. Okay. All right. So let's give this a try. Computer, can you turn the salt lamp off in 1 hour?
You bet. Just a moment while I work on that.
Working.
I've set up a one-time automation to turn off your salt lamp in 1 hour at 8:10 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
Okay, so it is just that easy. Once again, I had to do a little processing. I think they definitely need some sort of like little beep boop beep 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 to let you know that it's doing something because you think it's just stalled on you. But anyway, yeah, super cool. These temporary routines. I don't know how you may use them, but they're very versatile. Just the simple fact that, hey, I want this to go off or come on at a certain time in itself, I think it's just super useful, just super useful, and has been over on other competing products like the HomePod is pretty good at this. I can usually set a timer and it triggers something, but I haven't gone full out with these temporary routines. Maybe I could say turn this light on, turn that off, turn this fan on. You could be pretty elaborate. Now, this actually, if you go into the app, the A-Lady app on your phone, and you go to the More button in the bottom center, and then you tap on routines, and then you go to, I think it's your routines. I think before I might have said it was my routines, but it's your routines, I think. And then at the very top of the list, you'll see that it has a temporary, or it says, I think maybe one-time routine that's presently invoked. And I would imagine, because I've done this a number of times, those auto-wipe, because when I've gone back in, they're not still listed. So they just, after they're completed, it's done. So super cool. All right, well, let's press on, and let's move into the show and tell feature. So as I mentioned again, show and tell was originally designed way back. I think, oh God, Echo shows probably first and second gen 8. The 10 had been out because that's how I demoed it. It goes all the way back to episode 63 to give you an idea, guys. And we're in our 7th season, so that would have been around the 2nd season. It had to be a number of years ago, at least 6, probably close to 6, 5.5 something years ago. It was a long time ago. But anyway, so we're going to look at a clip from episode 63 where she gives a little tutorial about how it's supposed to work, how it captures an object. So instead of doing like facial recognition, which we think of, or like a barcode scanner, this is designed to really kind of capture a number of nuances connected with an object. We call this object recognition. So that could be the color code, if you're looking at a pantry item, maybe symbols on the can of food or whatever, and also maybe some of the labeling as well. And so this gives you a little... So let's go right back. We'll time travel back. We'll pull that old cassette tape out, and we'll listen to episode 63, a brief little segment to give you an idea how show and tell used to work. Alexa, play show and tell tutorial.
Here are some instructions. First, locate the camera embedded at the top middle of the screen, just under the middle button. Second, hold your item about a foot away and about a foot above the countertop or table, centered with the camera. Next, you'll hear sounds to help you position your item. First, a soft tone will tell you that the camera is on. Start moving your item around slowly until you hear beeping, which means the camera can see your item. Then, hold your item steady and show the camera different sides, pausing for a second or two for the camera. Finally, I may provide tips to help you position your item along the way. If you'd like to hear more on how this feature works, say, Alexa, more help on show and tell.
Okay, so hopefully that gives us all a little idea. You'll hear the tone, that means the camera is going, and if you hear the beeping, then that's good, because that means it's detecting the object. And as it said, about a foot above, off the table, and then about a foot in front of the camera that's in the top center of the Echo. All right, so let's give it a try. I got in my hand a can of Campbell's Chunky, I think it's Italian, meatball, but we'll see here. We'll see if we can figure out what it is. And all we have to do is say, Alexa, what am I holding?
Let's see. It looks like Campbell's Chunky soup packs.
Okay, so there it is. It gave me soup packs. Now on the screen, I have the screen reader enabled. That's a feature for the blind that allows me to touch the screen in it to read more information. So I'm going to touch the section down here, see if it gives me some more details.
Campbell's Chunky soup packs. Try Alexa. Go back. Ready to eat soup, packed with hearty meatballs, carrots, spinach and enriched pasta. Enjoy the comforting flavors of this Italian classic vertical bar. 15 grams of protein. Each can contains 15 grams of protein. Fill up right vertical bar, great for active lifestyles.
Okay, so that gives you a real quick overview of the way show and tell under the old A-Lady worked. And it continued to pretty much work that way all along. Now, that demo, it may have not been terribly obvious, but when I had scanned the item, it had text on the screen. As you could tell there at the end, I was flicking through it with the on-screen reader, and it was reading out some of the stuff. A little confusing about how it said a pack of whatever, but I think that's because it ordered like a 6-pack of those cans of soup or whatever. So that's why the nomenclature was very kind of drawing on the database of Amazon's, foods and stocked, canned goods and all that kind of stuff to, I think, try and isolate in particular what the product was. Now, what I didn't demo there was a feature that I think could be useful to anybody, and that is a barcode scanning feature. But we'll revisit that here in a little bit at the end of the segment and what's going on with that. But first off, let's see how the new show and tell feature goes. And I'm going to go to a recording here that I did in my living room with the Echo Show 8. Okay, so here I am in front of my Echo Show 8 in the living room here, and I got several different canned or pantry items here. And so we'll see if you can hear a little bit of the distinction and how fast this and responsive this is under the new A-Lady Plus. So here we go. I'll just use the standard phrase we've used in the past. Alexa, what am I holding in my hand?
Okay, taking a look.
Okay, so as you can tell, super fast.
You're holding a can of vegetarian fiber.
I hope, Don. You rotate the can. Alexa, what am I holding in my hand?
You're holding a can of Rosarita refried beans.
Okay, so she combined the appropriate things there. Thank you. Let's grab another can. Alexa, what am I holding in my hand?
You're holding a can with a green label and a smartphone.
Okay. Let me turn this a little bit. Alexa, what am I holding in my hand? Okay.
You're holding a can with a nutrition facts label showing 110 calories per serving.
Turn it again. Alexa, what's in my hand?
You're holding a can of organic garbanzo beans and a phone.
That's because I'm trying to make falafels. Okay.
Making falafels. That's a tasty choice. Are you looking for any specific ingredients or measurements for your recipe?
Stop. Okay, so that will give you guys a little bit of an idea. Okay, guys, so as you could see from that final demo under the new A-Lady Plus, super snappy, amazing, like, wow, just bam, bam. And it doesn't have any of that tone stuff really so much anymore. There, you could hear a little bit, but it generally doesn't seem to have that, you're lining the can good up or the boxed good up to the camera right. And as a consequence, I pretty much just needed to know where to locate it, which I didn't quite follow the directions that we heard earlier from the earlier episode 63. I kind of held mine probably a good 8 to 10 inches away from the camera, kind of right up above the edge of the camera, which was at the top. Well, that's a good question. Was that the top center on the Echo 8 show? They might have moved the camera to the side. I can't remember. No, the shutter's still in the middle. So yeah, it's there in the middle. And boom, snapped a shot of it. Now, what I do love about this, even though you don't, as a visually impaired person, get any kind of guidance, with the sound effects like they did before. I think it makes up for it in its sheer speed. So, okay, I got the can wrong. You could hear that I turned the can. I said, okay, I'm turning it. And it was maybe catching, like it said, what was it, vegetarian or something at one point, or vegan. I can't remember what it said, but I pretty much knew what the canned good was at that time because there's only like one type of product I order like that in a canned good item. But then I kept turning the can, and then it basically said vegetarian or vegan refried beans. And then boom, there you go. Because it caught the full label, the Rosarita or whatever. So I love the fact it's that fast. I can just turn it, boom, boom, boom. Hey, what do I have in my hand now? And boom, boom. It gives me feedback. Now, I didn't address that in that demo, but I later went back for your guys' edification. There wasn't any kind of visuals that I could tell of, at least at this beta level, on the screen of like the canned good, what it thought it pattern matched it with. Or like, this can of beans can be found on Amazon for $1.29. I couldn't seem to see anything on the screen with that, even with the screen reader. But I could, because the A-lady is conscious of the context and what we were doing, I could say, hey, could you find those garbanzo beans on Amazon? And she went off and searched Amazon. So I think that was very useful. But this is a long way to say there was, in the original, a barcode scanning feature. And that barcode scanning feature was really kind of a neat idea, I think, for anybody, sighted or otherwise. Unfortunately, it was pretty much useless to the vision impaired community, though, because it had what it would do is it would pop up a little square in the center of the screen where the barcode was supposed to be placed, and you had to pretty much get the canned good or whatever it was there, positioned exactly right before it would take a snapshot of the barcode. And it didn't give you any nonverbal guidance, like the sound effects like show and tell did. So the barcode thing was pretty much useless to the vision impaired community or the totally blind community. But I thought as a concept, a premise, it was a fantastic idea because it wouldn't be like blanketly guessing what type of garbanzo beans they were, like we saw in the last demo and the most recent thing. It literally is pattern matching whatever that number is and going off to their grocery store back end stuff and finding the exact product that you want to find again. And I really had wished in the old A-Lady they had kind of integrated those two features into the same thing. Or maybe almost retired the show and tell for a show and tell that had the nav stuff that would tell you how to position the barcode or do a pattern match with the barcode and then pull up the data. I think that could be potentially would have been much more useful. But on the new Echo, I've asked it several times under the new A-Lady Plus, and there doesn't seem to be any barcode feature in there yet. So I found that kind of interesting. It didn't really. It didn't have anything. It specifically said, no, sorry, there is no barcode. We can try to identify what it is through and show and tell, but we cannot check the barcode or scan for a barcode. So that was interesting. All right, so that will bring the show to a conclusion. If you have thoughts or suggestions, reach out to us at ecotipspodcast@certdoctor.com. And you can also go to that same domain name and click on blog to look at our past catalog of some 350 plus episodes in our back catalog. And this was previously today, we heard episode 63. So that's going way, way back to learn about show and tell. Well, you have thoughts or suggestions for a future episode, we'd love to hear your feedback. And once again, we thank you, as always, for listening.